What's up everybody, it's Nick here, and today I'm going to be talking about how you can tell a story by yourself with a cinematic montage. And when I say by yourself, I mean you're the character, you're the filmer, you're everything. Let's get into it. So when it comes to cinematic montage, the story is a huge part of it. If you don't have a story, it doesn't make sense, it won't be pleasing to the viewer. And you don't always have a character that's available to film with you. So say you're like me and you always have one of your friends be the character, but they're not around, and it's prime gold now, or you need to execute an idea right now, but they're not around. So how do you craft a story by yourself? I'm gonna be explaining that today. So the scenario I was in, me and my mom went to a really cool spot, and I wanted to film a cinematic sequence. And I thought in my mind, I'm like, I wonder if I can create a cinematic sequence by myself, challenge myself, see if I can do it. So there were a lot of trails in this spot, and I started off kind of by doing some surrounding shots, showing the landscape, just showing where I was, giving some context to the viewer. I did like a couple vlog style shots. You don't want to fill your montage with that because obviously they don't look that professional, but they still do add enough context. If you keep them in there just for a little bit, they'll still contribute to the story, they'll still look decent in the montage. So a couple vlog shots here and there will work. Then I did a bunch of low, slow moving shots of the trail, just kind of show our progression up. But I did some ledge shots because this is a gorge, and as you walk, it like narrows in like this, and it opens up to this really beautiful area. So I wanted to show our progression walking up that way, and I really wanted to emphasize what we hiked to see. So when we got to the main opening of the gorge, I wanted to do a couple wide shots to show the entire landscape, do some close-up shots, and I also use leading lines. So leading lines are kind of like lines to point to your subject. So I used these circular routes there, and I guess they kind of worked. It was definitely, thinking outside the box. Basically, the goal was to drive your attention to the center of the shot, but I don't know, did it work? Comment down below. So with storytelling, you don't always need a bunch of people shots. As I mentioned before, I did a lot of slow moving trail shots, and showing the surrounding areas can be more of like a first person shot, so the viewer actually feels like they are there with you. On our way out of the trails, I kind of did a shot on the entrance of the trail. I didn't really make it known that was the entrance. I don't know, I think it kind of worked, I'm not sure. Then when we drove down to like more inside the gorge, I should have done some shots in the cars, show our progression down, maybe the shots of the hill we went down, but I really didn't. I did do a shot of a little waterfall, maybe that could imply that we went down the hill, I don't know, but definitely I should have done more within the car on the way down the gorge. I should have done that, but I didn't, so I messed up there, and it would have added just a bunch more context, so we don't go from on top of the gorge straight down to the bottom. That's why I said that waterfall shot could have implied it and added a tiny bit of context, but always add as much context as you can in the sequence. And that kind of leads on to the next point, having too much footage. And it's common now that you won't always use every single shot, whether something in the shot was off, it was overexposed, it was framed wrong, or it just doesn't contribute enough to the plot of the story to make sense. So when I was editing this sequence, I edited it 3 different times, and each time I would wait a little bit, think about it, cut more, add more into the sequence. I cut away that stuff I didn't really feel added to it mainly, and maybe the next day after I finished editing that, I'd be like, why did I take out that shot? That makes so much more sense. I'd add it back in, then the next day watch it again and just add and take stuff out as the days go on. So the montage after 3 days of editing turns out a ton better than if I would just do one edit of it. And having too much extra footage in the sequence isn't beneficial. It can be distracting, just it wouldn't make sense for the viewer. They would see it kind of think, why? That makes no sense. Why would that be put in this sequence when it has nothing to do with that? Say I had a 1-minute sequence, and I had a bunch of shots there that looked really, really good, but most of them didn't contribute to the story. So I cut out about half of all them shots that don't make any sense, and I end up with a 30-second sequence. Now that 30-second sequence would be a ton better than that 1-minute sequence, just because I cut out all them shots that didn't make sense to the story. Now I have a story with that 30-second sequence. So any footage should have a correlation with the story, and if it doesn't, cut it out, doesn't make any sense, and it won't be pleasing to the viewer. What about doing like a kind of a, I guess like a that's a shame. So let me give a little context behind that, why that fell. So I put duct tape on it, to hold it. So I moved it down there so it'll be in frame, just kind of add to it, because my channel name is Nickman1847. In case you can't tell, this says 1847 on it. So another way that I didn't use, a while ago, I made a video talking about how to make your tripod shots look a little bit more cinematic. I'm thinking about remaking that video just because that one, I've kind of updated my style a little bit because I've been playing around with it. Tell me down below if you guys will watch a part 2 to that video. And you could use some of the techniques in that video still. Like, it's not a bad video. I just kind of updated a little more. I kind of refined that video a little bit more as time went on. So you can still use the techniques from that, make your tripod footage just look that little bit more cinematic, and you can tell the story with that. Because, you know, normally you wouldn't want to set a tripod up like this how I'm doing now for a montage, a cinematic sequence, because having it stationary just doesn't look that good if you're trying to get a nice cinematic sequence. If you want to do that, you want to move and have just nice slow movements throughout the sequence. But yeah, I definitely recommend you watch that video. I'll link it in a little end card at the end here. But thank you all for watching the video. I will see you guys in the next one. Make sure to like and subscribe if you are new. Peace out. Kind of wish that didn't fall during the video. I was really counting on it not falling, but whatever.